Hello and welcome. In this video, we will showcase Armageddon brand Inquisitor. Brand's distinguishing feature is the ability to attach to an enemy and continuously cast a spell. Armageddon brand is a fire-oriented brand. While attached to an enemy, it creates meteors, not projectiles, that hit the ground, damaging not only the branded enemy but a lot more foes gathered around it. The brand conjures these meteors dealing fire damage every 1.5 seconds, but this interlude can be shortened by getting more cast speed, making it more similar to a regular spellcaster type build. One of the best classes to deal elemental spell damage are Elementalists and Inquisitors. While Elementalist would be better suited for an Ignite build, an Inquisitor is better for an unhit critical strikes, such as is the case here. Due to Righteous Providence, you can easily reach a 100% critical strike chance, and with Inevitable Judgment, these hits will ignore all elemental resistances. Sanctuary and Pious Path Keystones can guarantee nearly permanent consecrated ground that regenerates your energy shield as well as life. It can be a great foundation for a hybrid or low-life build. It would enable the Petrified Blood, Pain Attunement, and allow you to fit more auras. The Armageddon brand is supported by a Runebinder keystone allowing you to attach 2 brands to a single enemy, which is great against bosses. It basically doubles your damage. Brands that are not attached will quickly find the nearest opponent and stick to it. It deals purely fire damage by default. The build has high maximum elemental resistances, block chance, and a lot of armor. It's capable of rapid resource regeneration, and the effect of all curses on you is reduced by 75% just from consecrated ground. It's capable of reaching high maximum elemental or chaos resistance. Clear speed is limited by the time it takes for a brand to drop its meteor after attaching, and it's not instant. Single target damage is very high, nearly limitless with proper rare items. Assembling it is rather easy, there are no required unique items, and the rare ones are also very accessible. It can sink in a lot of currency as there are many options to upgrade it. No unique items are mandatory, but some are heavily recommended. The Annihilating Light and Mark of the Shaper are extremely good for their prices, so you should definitely consider them. As for other uniques, these are mainly centered around granting extra skill gem level or obtaining extra energy shield via Corrupted Soul. Some of them are very expensive, but ultimately rare items will serve the build as well, if not better than the unique ones. If you have a decent amount of energy shield or maximum mana, you can use Crown of the Inward Eye Helmet to gain more damage. It increases your armor, energy shield, maximum life, and mana. The Annihilating Light is one of the best weapons in the game for nearly all elemental damage builds. The inordinate amount of damage it grants is balanced out by lower elemental resistances, which shouldn't be much of a problem here. Skin of the Lords can potentially be the best in slot armor, given that you have sockets of the right color and a useful or at least useless keystone. Pain Attunement would save you a lot of passive skill points. You can use Hands of the High Templar gloves for their useful corrupted implicits, which are increased cast speed, maximum life, maximum energy shield, and extra spell critical strike chance. If you have some energy shield, and you find recovering a lot of life and energy shield from Flasks an appealing perspective, you are more than encouraged to equip the Burden of Truth. If you have a lot of maximum life, you can also gain a lot of energy shield by equipping Replica Soul Tether. It can be good in the right circumstances but lacks any resistances. Ashes of the Stars is unsurprisingly one of the best amulets in the game. This build is no exception, but its price sadly reflects its value. If your other ring is Elder influenced, you can gain an outstanding bonus to your spell damage from Mark of the Shaper. This ring increases your life, energy shield, triggers Volatile Anomaly, and adds lightning damage to spells, which is all very useful. We've used a Thread of Hope with a very large ring to gain 4 notables by allocating it near instability. It saves some skill points. Impossible Escape can be used here to gain Soul of Steel and Prismatic Skin for extra maximum elemental resistances. It has to be tied to Imbalanced Guard Keystone. You can use Glorious Vanity to transform one of your keystones into a Corrupted Soul for a true hybrid build experience. It would grant you a lot of energy shield, But be careful if you already have the Burden of Truth belt, it'd make 83% of your non-chaos damage go past your energy shield. As a Templar, you have access to some of the best Ascendancy keystones, obtainable via Forbidden Flesh and Flame. Sign of Purpose, Radiant Faith, Augury of Penitence, and Searing Purity are extremely good. You're using Vitality, Clarity, Zealotry, Determination, and Anger. There are many Watcher's Eye modifiers you can get to upgrade this build. We recommend Critical Strike Multiplier from Anger, reduced mana cost while affected by Clarity, or nearly any Zealotry modifier. From your rare gear pieces, try to obtain a 100% critical strike chance. It can be done not only from the direct critical strike modifiers but also from strength and intelligence. Reservation efficiency and reduced mana cost can be valuable too. Remember that all of your elemental damage will penetrate resistances fully, so it's recommended and encouraged to add cold or lightning damage too to cause elemental ailments. Blizzard Crown would be great as it adds cold damage to spells, which will penetrate all resistances as much as fire damage. It will make Armageddon Brand apply chill to the enemies so that you can get more damage from hypothermia support. Try to get life, resistances, and mana reservation efficiency. We recommend using a staff rather than a shield with a one-handed weapon. You can seek the modifiers for added gem level, added or increased fire spell damage, and critical strike modifiers. Rare body armor can potentially provide you with a lot of elemental resistances and maximum life, but also local modifiers to the gem level of skills, critical strike chance, and attributes. Maximum life, elemental resistances, and movement speed are all mandatory on your boots, but for the most effective upgrades look for Onslaught, Tailwind, and Elusive modifiers. Rare gloves are used, again, for maximum life and resistances, but also for added damage via exotic modifiers, or for additional attributes. Besides maximum life, resistances, and attributes such as strength, a belt can be useful for its multiple flask modifiers. An amulet is a great opportunity to gain various upgrades like extra gem level of all fire skills, critical strike modifiers, or lower mana cost of skills. Rings can be used for extra resistances, maximum life, maximum energy shield, attributes, and reduced mana cost of skills. Try to gain a significant amount of strength and intelligence here. Maximum life, resistances, attributes, and critical strike modifiers are the most valuable assets a jewel can present itself with. A fire or elemental damage-oriented large cluster jewel can be used for more damage as well as elemental resistances. It is worth getting one if it grants 3 notables and no more than 10 nodes. There are medium cluster jewels designed specifically for brand builds, you should get some of them. Bottled Faith is the perfect flask for this build. It grants damage, and has consecrated ground effects to extract even more damage from this build that heavily relies on critical strikes. Life, Quicksilver, Diamond, and Granite or Basalt Flask are the best options. Suffixes found here can increase your cast speed, movement speed, critical strike chance, armor, and remove bleeding on use. The main skill gem, which is Armageddon Brand, scales really well with its level. Link it with Empower, Swift Brand, and Inspiration support gems. If your hits consistently chill by having added cold damage, use Hypothermia for more damage. If that's not the case, use Elemental Focus support. Increased critical strike support increases critical strike chance. If it's already nearly 100%, use increased critical damage, or concentrated effect support gems. We've used some auras to reserve half of the maximum life. Vitality regenerates your life over time. As you're always below 50% of your maximum life, use Petrified Blood to make a big portion of damage from hits to be taken as damage over time. Clarity regenerates your mana. Use it to adjust your reserved life to be just slightly more than, or precisely 50% by increasing or lowering the level of this gem. Arrogance makes all auras reserved life instead of mana and increases their effect. Link them with Enlightened support too. For the mana reserving spells we've used 3 very powerful auras. Zealotry, for more spell damage and increased critical strike chance. Determination grants more armor and increases the existing one. Anger adds a lot of fire damage to your spells and attacks. Link these three with Enlighten for increased mana reservation efficiency. Brand Recall recalls all your brands to your locations, they have increased the attachment range after that. Flame Dash can be used to teleport at a rapid pace. Link these two with Arcane Surge for more spell damage and mana regeneration, and Enhance. Increasing the quality of Brand Recall provides you with even more attachment range and also cooldown recovery for Flame Dash. Use Vol Ritus Fire to gain more spell damage at the cost of your life. The Divergent version would grant you even more of it. Link it with increased duration support. Molten Shell protects you from hit damage for a short time. It's more effective the more armor you have. Assassin's Mark is the most effective curse. It increases your critical strike chance and multiplier against a marked opponent. You should kill all 3 bandits for 2 additional skill points, but helping Alira might be alluring if you need resistances, critical strike multiplier, and mana regeneration. Soul of Solaris is the preferable pick. It's overall one of the best choices for a build that could use some extra survivability against hit damage, but if it's the DOT effects that you're concerned about, pick Soul of Aracali instead. Soul of Ralakesh is great against bleeding damage, but if you already have a flask that stops bleeding, pick Gruthkul for physical damage reduction, Abarath to take less ignite damage, or Yugal, that after capturing another soul can make you basically hexproof. On the passive skill tree, seek maximum life, elemental damage, especially fire, brand damage, critical strike damage for spells, which can be also found among staves clusters. For defenses, we've picked some nodes for more block chance with the Glancing Blows Keystone. It goes well with Mystic Bulwark for more mana regeneration. Mana reservation efficiency and cast speed are also heavily recommended. For the masteries, we've allocated 30% increased defenses as the Staff Mastery, increased brand attachment range as Brand Mastery, increased life reservation efficiency as Aura Mastery, and increased spell damage per chance to block spell damage as Block Mastery. You could also go for more maximum life from Life Masteries, critical strike multiplier against unique enemies from Critical Mastery, or find some ways to reduce the mana cost of skills. You might have noticed we haven't allocated Pain Attunement. That's because in our specific case it was sourced from Skin of the Lord's Armor. That is all for today's guide. We encourage you to like the video and subscribe to the channel. So long.